So welcome along to another Super League Raw members under the floodlights, and this morning I am joined by Billy Ingram, heritage number 59. Hello, Billy.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
Tickety boo, my friend. Tickety. I think you're the only member that can rival me for volume, but that's. But no, great to have your company, mate. Great to have your company. So let's get straight into it then. Obviously, Billy, here for his sins, a Leeds Rhinos fan. Talk about your early days, mate, in terms of rugby league. Did you play as a child?
I did. I played down at Dewsbury Moor, home to the Burgess brothers were a few years above me, Dewsbury Moor. For anyone who doesn't know, there's been some unbelievable players come out of that club over the years. Danny Ward, Matt Diskin, the Burgesses, obviously, Dewsbury and Batley as well. They've both been big parts of my life, and they're massive rugby league towns. They really are. I played from sort of under 9s to about under 13s kind of time. They said I could have turned pro if I'd have had any sort of pace, skill, tackling ability, or anything along that line. But apart from that, they said I could have gone pro.
They said your water carrier was brilliant, though.
They did.
You carry a mean tea.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's true. They used to call me Sonny Bill Ingram. That was the thing.
Do you know what? There's a ring to that. There's a ring to that. So, what position did you play as a child?
I was a prop.
Yeah, you're big like that.
I am. Yeah. You know, muscle weighs more than fat, Dave.
Absolutely, mate. You and Scholesy go toe to toe.
Exactly.
But that's by the by. So you played till 13. Any successes? Did you win any comps? Anything like that?
No, not really. No, but the one sort of thing I would say was kind of a success is there's still a great number of them lads now, and bear in mind I've not played with a lot of them for 15, 16 years. I could still see a lot of them lads now and still have a chat and a great time with them. And that goes for a lot of the coaches and a lot of the parents as well of the guys. I think it's forgotten about a little bit that rugby league is such a family sport, but like at the community level, at the and then also in the stadiums as well. There's my dad, his 3 best mates. He met them playing rugby 40 years ago. So
yeah, absolutely, and I think that we've spoke about this a lot. That pretty much is what, for me, separates the game of rugby from other sports, is that, the family element of it. And not just that, like what we do here at Super League Raw, and of course what the members do when they get together before games, that, it doesn't matter what shirt you wear, before and after a game, there's the odd village idiot, and I say every now and again, but segregation doesn't really happen. Everybody gets along, everybody sees it as a sport. Nobody's more passionate than you, I'm sure, when you're on the terraces at the South Stand. But when you walk out, win, lose or draw, you'll quite happily have a beer with the opposing supporters.
100%. I think most testament to that, Dave, is one of my friends, Chris, who comes to some games with me. He comes to some games, we go to neutral grounds and things. He's a big Liverpool fan. He's a Scouser, and he's been a Liverpool sort of season ticket holder for many years. And the first game I took him to was the Magic Weekend at Ellen Road, and he was there like, "Oh, are we going to be all right? Where do we need to go in and whatever else?" And he couldn't believe that there were kind of fans from, I think all 12 clubs were represented that day, and he couldn't believe they were all mixing together, all having a laugh. And that's just, you get the odd idiot, of course you do, but that's life. But he couldn't believe that there were Wigan fans, Leeds fans, Wire fans, all stood together, all having a laugh, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, great day for Warrington, that, mate. Won't make you relive it, but
can't remember it.
You can't. A certain player called Matt Duff, the Bath. But anyway, that's by the by. But no, you're right. Not the best Magic Weekend either. So if he was hooked on rugby league going to Ellen Road, a lot of rumours swirling that next week it will be announced that there will be a Magic Weekend at Everton. Again, it's going to be a Luke fixture. Just on that, how would you like that to be done? So if Magic Weekend next year is a goer, if Billy was the man organising it, how would you do it?
So I've got 2 ideas. One of them I'm going to pinch from Derek Bowman, friend of the show. Yeah. They have the Magic Weekend as the last 16 of the Challenge Cup. I think that would be a great thing of keeping it interesting and making it so that, yes, it is a Luke fixture, but it's kind of not as well. The other thing I would do, and I think it'd be great, is I think we should have at least one game on the Friday night, especially now we're going up to 14 teams. And I think what we should do is maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we draw it, so it's done out of a hat. You know what day your team's playing, and you'll know that well in advance, but you don't know who you're going to be playing till maybe a week or two before. So it gives that little bit of jeopardy. And I think one thing you mentioned a lot, Dave, like with the IMG announcements. Imagine that on Sky. It's Magic Weekend, 3 weeks to go. Right, who are we going to be drawn against? Presenters on, representatives of every club. As soon as Leeds get their announcement, they go to Jamie Jones Buchanan. Jamie, what are you thinking? Brad Arthur, what are you thinking? Who do you not want to come up against? And that kind of thing, and just create a little bit of excitement and jeopardy that way. And that'd probably be the way I would do it. My only thing with Magic Weekend, and I think Steph's sort of said this, I love it as a concept. I think it's brilliant, but we need to work out what it's for. Is it for the fans to go away and have a jolly? And if so, great. Or is it about growing the game? And if it's about growing the game, we need to go back to basics and start it again and work out exactly how we want that to go.
Interesting. And I think the other thing that Derek has hinted at, is that the big problem with Magic Weekend is keeping people in the ground. And when we had Derek on, he talked about like music in between the grounds, maybe a big act at the end, so that everybody stays in, and there's an act on at the end of the match. I think all of those things need to be considered. We digress. Let's go back to your early memories then of Leeds Rhinos. Why the Rhinos? Because of course you're in a hotbed of rugby league there. So why the Rhinos?
Well, I'll be honest, Dave, my first actual love was the round ball game. I know I'm going to get a yellow card there, and that was partly because I had a lot of older cousins that were Leeds United fans, and at that time, I don't know if anyone remember, Leeds United were doing very, very well. And then it was the 2002 season, and it was the Challenge Cup semi-final. Leeds played Saints, and Castleford played Wigan, I believe. And I remember watching that game and thinking, because my dad were always big on rugby league. He used to go watch Dewsbury Rams up at the Old Crown Flats when he was about 14, 15. He saw Mike Stevenson and all them guys play. So rugby league was always part of the house, but we didn't have Sky. So the Challenge Cup was a big thing to watch. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh, this is fantastic. And Leeds got an absolute pasting. But there were 4 men who they were either playing that day or they were in the squad, and they're all from Dewsbury. Francis Cummins, Ryan Sheridan, Matt Diskin, and Danny Ward. And to a 6-7-year-old kid, these guys are from Dewsbury and they're playing for Leeds. Your mind is absolutely blown. And that was what hooked me to Leeds. People try and call me a glory supporter and all this. When I started supporting Leeds, they'd not won a title in 30 years. They'd won 1 trophy in about 25. It was, I was not nowhere near a glory supporter, but that thing of 4 lads from Dewsbury, all of my mum and dad were publicans as well, so a lot of them lads, they used to go in my mum and dad's pub and nightclub, and this idea that, oh my God, Matt Diskin was in there last night. Oh my God, it absolutely blew my mind. So I think that was what hooked me to Leeds, to be quite honest with you.
Brilliant, mate, and that's what it's all about. So, I mean, obviously, your dad, who was your dad's rugby league side?
So it was Dewsbury as he was growing up, but being in the pub trade, he didn't get to go to a lot of games. And he always one of his brothers is a big Leeds fan, and so when I got into Leeds, he started following Leeds a little bit too. My dad's one of these though. My dad will quite happily go watch under-17s play. He'll quite happily go watch Batley play, Featherstone, them kind. He's not bothered in my dad. He wants to see a good game of rugby league with good levels of skill. And I mean, I will be honest, he wants to bring back the biff, and who doesn't? Let's be honest.
He does want to bring back the biff. Well, one thing's for certain, it would stop the halfbacks getting in their prop forwards' faces very, very quickly, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think Jake Connor had quieted down a little bit at that point. Let's go. So obviously, that's around 2000. So how old would you have been in 2002?
I would have been 6 or 7, depending. Yeah.
So when was the first time you were taken to Headingley?
It was that season, and it was on a Friday night, and it was a friend of my dad's actually, and he was a touch judge, a Super League touch judge, as well as being a painter and decorator, and he was doing some work at the house, and he knew I'm a big Leeds fan, but obviously with my parents working weekends, I couldn't go, so him and his wife took me, and we played Hull FC, and we beat them 52 points to 10, and I was I remember I took a ball with me and I got 16 of the late Leeds 17 to sign for me. And the only one I didn't get, and the only player from that era whose autograph I don't have, and I'm devastated I don't have it now, is Rob Burrow.
Right, that's a shame. That's a crying shame.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what was the score again?
52 points to 10.
Not much has changed. Lovely. Only joking. The FC fans know I like to have a bit of banter with the FC fans. But no, that's good, mate. That's good. And so obviously, so as a younger lad, you got to see them live at Headingley. What was your first impressions being at Headingley and being in a rugby league atmosphere?
I just thought the atmosphere was fantastic. I'd been to a couple of games before that, but I'd been up to Batley. There was a great player at the time playing for Batley called Glenn Tomlinson, who was he'd gone down in sort of folklore amongst Batley fans as being this hero. So I'd been to that, and that was a good atmosphere. But I think that night at Headingley there was about 10 or 12,000, so it was just a completely different beast altogether. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I've always had one of these minds as well where I get fixated on something. So obviously I was unable to go to games, and I wasn't able to actually watch games because I was at my grandma's Friday and Saturday nights a lot of the time. So my mum and dad used to record them for me, and on the old VHS tapes, and I'd watch them, and then I'd watch them again, and I'd watch them again. And my dad used to say, I knew what Eddie and Steve-O were going to say before they did. I were obsessed with just watching these games over and over again and picking out little points and thinking this is going to be a great try. This, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, just like Greg, it was good for a bit of bingo with Steve-O. Kick over the top, try something different, do a kick over the top, whatever.
Yeah, like time.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Try time, yeah. Remember try time. But no, happy days, great stuff. So when did you become a regular then? When did you from around what age and what era did you become a regular at Leeds?
To be honest, Dave, I've never have been. I've been to a few games here and there. So I started working for my dad at glass collecting at 16. So that kind of took all weekends out of it. And prior to that, I wasn't really old enough to kind of go on my own. So I've never really been. So that's why I kind of treasure the moments that I do get to go. And that's why I think I've probably spent a lot of time going and watching Dewsbury and Batley and Featherstone and those kind of teams, because a Sunday afternoon it was a lot easier for me to go with say my dad or an uncle or something than it was to get up to Headingley.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. So on average, how many games do you get to, would you say, a year for Leeds?
Probably 3 or 4. 3 or 4.
Right, okay. But obviously, you travel around the grounds. 18th man on tour, of course, that you started. How many grounds have you not been to? Are you getting close to getting packed through them all?
No. We've done 7 so far. I think I've probably done altogether probably about 2021, but not doing this. Right. So we've got it to do next season. We're going to be a little bit more organised next season with it though, because I think we sort of did it on a little bit of a whim, and we were like, one of them things that, we should do it, but you never get round to. And I remember messaging Chris and I went, should we do it this weekend? And should we record it? Yeah, come on. And then it's just sort of fallen from there. But we're going to be a little bit more proactive with it next year. And I absolutely love it. So, some of the people you meet are, we're dedicated on Super League Raw. The effort you and Steph and everyone put in is unbelievable. But some of the effort that some of these guys put in, and let's face it as well. We're watching Super League clubs. It's a good standard. Sometimes it's not the best standard. Then they're there volunteering on a Sunday afternoon trying to sell hats or something. It's great. Is that community spirit in the game?
Mate, even at the highest level, clubs would not function without the volunteers. The volunteers make the game. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So in terms of your time then supporting Leeds, what game stands out most in your mind as a Leeds fan that you've been to?
One a few weeks ago where John Bennison's try were allowed. Still filthy about that one. I think the 2003 Challenge Cup semi-final sticks in my mind. It was at Huddersfield. We played St Helens, and it was sort of when we were starting to really. We had that good experience squad, but we were starting to see a lot of them young kids come through as well. So, like Danny Maguire's sort of breakout season. He had played a bit before, but he really broke out. Rob Burrow was starting to break through. Ryan Bailey, Jamie Jones, Buchanan, Sir Kev, of course. So it was we were starting to get there, but Saints were still the creme de la creme of sides. So we ended up beating them, and I think Danny Maguire scored in like the last minute of normal time, right in the corner, and Kevin Sinfield had to take the kick from right in the corner to be able to take it to extra time. He did it, and we won that game. And then a few weeks later, I was down in Cardiff.
Lovely. So you got to the final, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. And how many times have you seen them pick up silhouette in the flesh?
One.
Right, okay. Which was that? What one was that?
2011.
Right, okay.
OT. What was that, sorry?
OT.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So my dad calls me the curse because I was there in 2003. I was there in 2005 at the Challenge Cup finals. I was there in 9, 10 and 11 at the Challenge Cup finals. I couldn't make it in 14 and I couldn't make it in 15 either due to work commitments. And then I had my ticket booked to go down to Wembley for the 2020 season, and we went into COVID. Not I wasn't going to see Leeds. I was just going down to the final. So it was, I'm the kiss of death, really, Dave. To be honest with you, I shouldn't really go watch Leeds if I'm being honest.
Why did you go in 2010?
In 2010, were we playing Wigan?
No, Warrington. Why won it?
It'd be 10, 11 and 12 then. 10, 11 and 12. It was, there were one game we got hammered by Warrington about 30 points to 6. Then there was the year after against Wigan where Joel Tompkins scored that wonder try. Yeah. And then the year after, I think Wire beat us 35-18, something like that.
Yeah, no, you should say that grand final, mate. Say we've never won one, have we? You should have gone to that one. We just sort of chance. We need all the help we can get to the grand final. Warrington.
I know. I was there in 2018 when Wigan beat 8 points to 4 as well. So I'm no look to Warrington either.
Won't be coming to Halliwell Jones anytime soon, will you? But no, good. Have you been to the Halliwell Jones as part of 18th Man?
Not as part of 18th Man, no. I've been many years ago. I remember thinking at the time, as a stadium, it was the best pure rugby league stadium that we had in the competition at that time. There was obviously like you probably look at maybe like whatever it's called, the John Smith's the Aku now, as a good stadium, but obviously it's football based. You'd probably look at the MKM. But again, football based. But I remember Warrington being a very good rugby league ground, and sort of set the template really for St Helens and Widnes and Salford and other teams as well.
Yeah, and I think Widnes's came first. I think I think it did. I might be wrong when I say that, but you're right. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We've seen an improvement in Stadia over the years, and that needs to continue, of course, as we go forward. What's the greatest try you've witnessed as a Leeds fan? In
the flesh?
Yeah.
Got to be Rob, hasn't it? Rob in 2011. I was there, right on it. I was on the halfway line. I was friends with somebody at school, and her mum was she was quite high up in the RFL, and they asked me if I wanted to go. And I just remember being on the edge of my seat. It was such a tight game, and then Rob came on after about half an hour, and he just broke it apart, and he absolutely took that game to St Helens.
Yeah, he was class, mate. Class. Who was your favourite player in those early years?
So I've got a couple. So kind of players that go under the radar a little bit. One's Matt Adamson, and a brilliant runner. I mean, he was a fantastic second rower, unbelievable player.
Ran a good line, mate. Ran a very good line.
He really did. He really did. Another one was Gary Connolly. I can remember Gary Connolly coming over to Leeds, and I think, is he a bit past it? And then he played for Leeds at fullback for a season. I thought, my God, this guy is absolutely incredible. And then the other one's probably David Ferner. I think without Ferner signing for Leeds when he did, I don't think we go on and win the title in 2004. I think he had that winner's mentality about him, that probably in a similar way to somebody like JWH has come in at KR and done, having that winner's mentality to sort of help get Leeds over the line. I think David Ferner deserves a lot of credit for that.
Fair enough. And of course, it's been a bit barren, hasn't it, since that golden generation? I mean, what a privilege, not only for you as a Leeds fan, but for rugby league in general, to watch that Leeds team. And it's the same with KR now. Love or hate Hull KR, you've got to respect a good rugby league team when you see one. Obviously, like I say, not been the greatest, been a bit up and down since. What did you make about Arthur's full season last year and where the club is currently
I would say we're probably in the best state that we've been in probably in about 7 or 8 years. We seem, I think Gary Etherington has set the benchmark of what a Super League owner / chairman should do in the game. But I do think it was time for him to move on. And I think that somebody like Ian Blease being involved as more of a director of rugby, I think has had a really positive impact with some of the players that he's signed. We've got some good academy players coming through as well. People like Presley Cassell. And I do think that with Brad Arthur at the helm, alongside some of the first teamers we've got, some of the academy we've got, and then a lot of the things that are happening off the pitch too, I think we are in a better position than we've been in probably 7 or 8 years. Probably similarly to KR last season, that them losing in a grand final probably did them a lot of good, and I think us losing to St Helens in the way that we did will do us a lot of good. I think we're good. I think we're still not going to win it this season, but I can see us definitely making a final, either at Wembley or at Old Trafford. And I certainly won't be surprised if we do either of those things, because I think the squad's in a very, very good position at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good shout, that, to be fair. I think, once we get into the new year and we start looking at the squads and we start picking finalists and what have you, you're right. I think, Leeds are starting to build something. I mean, look, you've got a couple of holes to fill. I mean, I think Morgan Gannon's loss has been a big loss. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, I think he's more. I think there's somebody on your podcast, I can't remember who it is, who thinks that James Bentley should have been in the England squad. Reggie, that was it. And he was James Bentley's a good player, but he's nowhere near the player that Morgan Gannon was. The best credit you can give Morgan Gannon is you don't realise what he does until he's not on the pitch. And he's a massive loss. I think we've done quite well to get Ethan O'Neill. I think Ethan O'Neill's a very, very good player, in his prime as well. But I would not be surprised if in the World Cup next year we have a back line consisting of Kai Pearce-Paul and Morgan Gannon, or possibly Junior Insember as well.
Yeah, Gannon, if he has a hits ground running in the NRL, Gannon's well and truly in the window for the World Cup. And of course, James McDonald. I mean, we've got to go there. I mean, like I say, I think that's probably. I think James McDonald's form, it probably dilutes the loss of Gannon a little bit, because McDonald has been exceptional in 2025, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I know one thing that we've been talking about a lot on the pod is people who missed out on the on the England squad. And I think James McDonald's got to be well up there. I know there's people like Simo says he shouldn't be playing for England because he's played for Ireland. Well, we're a bit fast and loose with that rule in rugby league, and I think people like James McDonald should definitely have been in that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the big, and who'd have thought it, but there's no doubt about it. Leeds' improvement last year, it was defensively. We know that. Defensively, there was a massive improvement. But also, we've got to go to the man of steel, Jake Connor. When you bought Jake Connor this time last year, when you brought him into your team, what were your initial thoughts? Jake Connor's coming to the Rhinos. What were your initial thoughts?
What the hell have we bought him for? That was my initial thought. I was looking at. I didn't quite see where he fitted in, but that was probably a little bit of my lack of understanding of Jake Connor's career. I think he was playing in the centres, if I remember rightly, and wasn't in the best of form.
Well, that's what they said. That's where they were signing for, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I was looking at him, and I think we had Momorovsky, who won't go down as one of the greats. I'll show you if we're polite. He's not in me 1 to 13, just to let you know, Dave. Just to exclusive. Neither's David Fusitua as well. I'm exclusive for you right there.
I'm not surprised about that either.
No. But yeah, I remember thinking, why have we signed him? And I think because he came with a little bit of a reputation as well, as having some potential attitude problems. I think that was my view of that, probably lessened a little bit once I saw the impact that Brad Arthur had on discipline. You saw players like Harry Newman calm down. Even Cam Smith's got a little bit of a temper on him. James Bentley as well, and you saw them calm down. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I can see this. And then we finished 2024 as disappointingly as we did. And I thought, well, it can't get any worse. And he came in, had a few games at fullback, and he was all right. I thought he's okay. And then when he moved to the halves, and again moving out Matt Frawley, who I'm sure he's a very, very nice man, but I don't think he's Super League like standard as a 7. Moving Jake Connor into that position was absolutely unbelievable. A great piece of work from whoever decided to do it. And the rest is history, really. How Sean Wayne can say the Man of Steel doesn't matter, I don't know, because for me, our 3 halves that we took with England to the Ashes should have been Connor, Smith, and Lewis. Smith because he's a game controller, and then the other 2 are a bit of magic. But I know I'm digressing slightly here, Dave. But one thing Sean Wayne kept saying, well, Mikey can cover loads of positions. Well, he can't. He's a 6. He's a 6, and he's an incredible 6. Jake Connor can actually, the positions that you wanted Mikey Lewis to cover, Jake Connor can actually cover them, and he has covered them. So what are you doing? What are you doing? So yeah, I think Jake Connor's been a brilliant signing.
Yeah, bonkers. I mean, look, we've got. Obviously, the wide to right try will go down as one of the best tries in the Super League game. But that said, yours at KR was special last year, wasn't it?
Oh yes, that was. I think I messaged in the group chat that we had at the time, and I said, I'm just going to go tell the wife I'm leaving her for Lockie Miller's try. It was that good. I was in awe, because at the start of the season we were very, very good defensively, and a little bit sort of okay in attack. We were beating teams by sort of 10, 12 points, and you could see the start of something. But then when sort of the mid-season arrived and we had that spine of Croft, O'Connor, Connor and Miller, and those guys were playing well together, and we had Ash Hanley as well. Ash Hanley's a real unsung hero, another player who for me should have been in the England side. The potency that he has at centre, and the lines he's able to make, and the gaps he's able to make through that defence are absolutely incredible. And then Callum Watkins as well. Callum Watkins is I think Callum Watkins will go down as one of the very best mid-season signings in Super League history, and I'm not afraid to say that.
No, he played very well, Callum. He's good, great pro. No question about that whatsoever. So obviously, we've heard about what got you to become a Leeds fan. Your first time on the terraces. Your favourite away ground?
Ooh, that's a good question. One of my favourites to go to is Batley, because of how it's a little bit. Have you been to Batley's ground? Yeah, the big slope, and very good pie. That's good. Halifax, I tell you what, now that's what I'm going to say. The Shea is the best ground I've been to.
Yeah, Shea's I mean, again, the right type of stadium. I mean, to be fair, would lend itself well, once it's been modernised a bit by Ken Davey. Would lend itself well to Super League. There's no doubt.
Definitely. The atmosphere there. There were some great fans from Cheshire who were there when I was there. A big team in. I think they've won a World Cup Challenge once or twice as well. This team from Cheshire. I can't remember who they are though. Dave, was it?
Not worth mentioning.
No.
No, we don't go there. But look, I mean, what's fascinating about Super League as we go into 2026 is that, of course, yourself and Lee had a right ding dong for 3rd and 4th last year. KR are not getting any weaker, albeit, where KR are concerned, Tom Amone needs to get back to Tom Amone levels. There's no doubt. Obviously, Mickey Mack's gone as well. So there's a bit of experience with JWH, Mickey Mack gone, who, listening to Willie Peters, were a big part of their progression to win a grand final and the treble this year. New backroom staff as well. Wigan. We've seen Wigan be brutal where Dupree's concerned. Brought Wilson, great bit of business. Then, of course, there's yourself and Lee. I don't think Lee's transfer business is over by a long shot. I'm going to see more things happening there. Then there's the Rowley factor. Dowell Powell at Wakey. Can they go again? They're making good signings and wrapping up good talented players. You've then got hopefully a better Warrington, a better Catalan, an injury-free Huddersfield, which will change the dynamic of Huddersfield a little bit. Again, they'll be bruised for losing Wilson. FC, I'm not going to discount FC. FC jettisoned a few at the moment. The question with FC is, can they go again? And we'll see that. But you would hope it's going to be a more competitive league next year. further down. I think really competitive down at the bottom as well in terms of the newly promoted teams, and I'll throw Castleford certainly into that mix. Huddersfield, you'd say he's going to be on the cusp up or down in that mix. So I think it's a really interesting season in that respect. From a Leeds perspective, how do you think you're going to fare? I mean, great finish for you last year. Do you believe a grand final? You said a final. Are you edging more Challenge Cup to grand final? Where do you see it next year?
I can see us probably more towards a grand final, if I'm being honest. I can see a Challenge Cup final next year of being probably something like Wakefield and maybe St Helens, that kind of final. I can see that happening. You are 100% right. It's going to be tough because the league is getting better, which is what we need it to do. There's been some very, very astute signings made by every club. Warrington, Catalan have made some really good signings. Hull FC, Castleford are going to be better. And I don't think we're going to have a whipping boy like we've had with Salford, and I mean that with all due respect to Salford. I don't think we're going to have that really, really weak team. I think all three teams are going to come up and sort of challenge a little bit. I don't think any of them are going to get playoffs, but I can see one of them maybe finishing 9th or 10th around that sort of level. But I think that the league is going to be unbelievably competitive. And I don't think, Dave, there's been a time since I've been watching the sport where it's actually been in a better position off the field. I think we've got the best set of owners in Super League that we've ever had. I think that the attendances are up, and they're up considerably. Viewing figures are up, and again up considerably. I think the Ashes helped, although it was a disappointing series altogether. I do think it has got some eyes on the game, and I think that there's a lot of clubs doing a lot of really good things with rebrands and the way that they're sort of holding themselves on social media, and the way that they're carrying themselves is it's a little bit more professional, and it's teams are having full marketing teams rather than just James, who's got a phone, who will have him doing our social media. Things are evolving and things are getting better, and I think that we'll see that on the field as well this time.
From a governance perspective, though, do we need to move towards an NRL model?
We do. We absolutely do. What I will say is, I think that the only way to do that, in my eyes, is to say to the teams, "Look, we're going to take the governance off you, but here's a big chunk of cash that we'll give you every year." Because I think that the main reason that the clubs don't want to give up that influence is that they don't want to be out of pocket, and I can understand it. I really can, but it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at the moment. I think an NRL style model would be great. The one thing I don't want to happen, and I would make any deal absolute caveat to this, I do not want to go down to 10 teams. I think it would be an absolute final nail in the coffin for a lot of sides. We want to be growing the sport. We want to be having, in my view, two conferences of 10 teams, where they're playing across conferences, and then we have a semi-final and a final and all that kind of thing. We don't want to go down to 10 teams, but I do think some kind of independence would be great with a Super League voice on that board. So, a Derek Beaumont or a Gary Edrington or somebody like that on that board to say, look, this is what the clubs think and this is what we want to do. And maybe even give the clubs a vote as part of the panel. But altogether, it's an independent panel that is looking after it as a general rule.
Interesting, mate. And this is what I love about doing Under the Floodlights and giving the members their own show, is the fact that, the passion that you're talking with there about the sport and everything. This is what it's all about. This is what makes rugby league fans fantastic. And I say very balanced arguments, mate. Very balanced arguments indeed. Like I say, the last couple of seasons, I think we've had some really good. It does appear to be on the way up on the field and all. I mean, there's the comparisons with Australia, which for me are unfair. We know that the NRL is a lot further down the track, a lot more money. It's their national sport, it's not ours. In the same way that we would look at their football and look down on it. It's the opposite in terms of rugby league. That said, I do. People say it's a poor standard of rugby in Super League. I don't see that. I think it's a different type of rugby league, and it's as entertaining, if not at times more entertaining.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think that if you looked at the 17 teams, I think it is now in the NRL, against the 14 in the Super League, there's going to be very few in the 14 in the Super League that would be looking at winning the NRL. That's for sure. But I do think a lot of those teams could compete in the NRL. I think there'd be teams like your KRs and your Wigans, maybe even your Lee, who were pushing for the eights and, really start to add up there. I do think it, in a way, is a little bit more entertaining. And one thing that any Australian says is that the crowds over here are night and day compared to what they are in the NRL. And that is so true. People were talking about the great atmosphere that Tonga and Samoa and everyone were bringing, and it was great, and take nothing away from those guys. But give me 10,000 fans at Headingley, Leeds against Castleford on a Friday night. I don't think any atmosphere in the NRL can compare to that. We've got smaller, more compact grounds, allowing for that atmosphere to really, really build. And you can hear it coming through the telly sometimes. Sometimes you watch NRL games and the crowd is a little bit flat. It is a little bit. It's not quite. It's just not quite what we're used to in this country. I think it's a different standard of rugby, and altogether, for a lot of people, it's probably better. But I do like the Super League. I like the history that we've got. I like the long-standing rivalries. I like the fact that the rugby league is what football was in this country 50 years ago. Rugby league is, full of lads from small towns who've gone out and they've lived the dream of playing for their hometown club and then going on and playing at international level. They're not earning daft money. They're probably earning a lot more than a lot of us, but they're not earning daft money. They're incredibly humble people. They're incredibly kind people. They've not forgot where they've come from. And I believe that is part of what attracts me so much to rugby league, is that you can go in the bar after the game and have your photograph taken with a superstar. I mean, I was there the other week at Headingley and I saw Adrian Morley, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't get my words out. I couldn't speak to him. I know exactly. I was in awe of. I was more in awe of him as my wife was of Ryan Hall. I mean, oh God, I was nearly getting jilted when she saw Ryan Hall from across the room. My God.
Happy days. Yeah. No way. Moz is a cracking fella. Absolute cracking fella. I mean, we mentioned on Weekly this week, as this has been recorded, that the World Cup rankings have come out and England are third.
No, I wasn't surprised. No, because it's not just taken on one series. I don't think it's a fair reflection of where it is at the minute. I think we are probably joint fourth alongside Tonga. I think Samoa have jumped ahead of us. I don't think, though, that on the face of it, I do think a strong England 17 can beat a very strong Australia 17 if we've got the right tactics and we've got the right squad selection. And I think we can certainly beat Samoa and Tonga and New Zealand as well if it comes to it. But I think if we have any kind of the same attitude as the coaching staff had in the Ashes, I don't see us getting to the semi-finals of the World Cup next year.
Wow! So is that
Wayne should have walked? Wayne should have walked after Headingley, as far as I'm concerned. And this is not a plight on Sean Wayne. The job he did at Wigan was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I think, as you said a number of times, Dave, I don't think you can doubt the man's passion. And I do think he is trying to do his best, but he is out of his depth, and he needs to go. I'm sorry, he is not an international coach.
There you go. You heard it from Billy. Absolutely, mate. What a passionate conversation that's been. A whirlwind tour of Billy Ingram, both as a child. His passion for the game has come flying through the screen, which is brilliant. Let's keep that passion going, because Billy's picked his all-time 1 to 13, which I'm sure is going to generate some debate. So, who's your fullback, mate?
So I just want to add a couple of caveats in, Dave, if that's okay. So I've said, for me, I was like, where do I go back here? Do I go back to the 50s and whatever else and this, that and the other? And I said, no, right. So I've got to have seen them play in the flesh. They can't still be playing, so they've got to be retired. And I'm also counting on what they've done in Super League rather than what they've done in the NRL, because I've not always followed the NRL as closely as I have Super League. So those are my caveats.
Okay, mate.
So number one, Robbie Paul, and a real superstar. The thing that stands out for me about Robbie Paul is that in 2002, the New Zealand touring side came over here, and Robbie Paul was the only English player who was English-based player who was in that squad. He was a superstar. Number two.
Yeah, he got a lot of speed, a lot of class.
100%.
Better than his brother.
100%. Leslie Vinacolo, the volcano himself.
Right. You're testing me spelling there.
Big Les.
Big Les. Yeah, that'll do.
And on the other wing, I've got Pat Richards, who I think is a real underrated player in rugby league. His kicking game was phenomenal. To win a Man of Steel from the wing, my God, you've got to be some player, and he was some player. He was fantastic.
A very good goal kicker. I think was pivotal to that time for Wigan. I think he came at the right time for them and played a massive part in the success at that point. So good shout, Pat Richards. One of the again, we talk a lot, don't we, about good imports and average.
100%. I'm going to go number three. I will go as far as to say the best player I've ever seen in the flesh. The greatest individual performance I ever saw at Leeds, and it was a St Helens player, a great player, and I wish we could have seen him in Super League for longer, and that was Jamie Lyon.
Or you'll be in Steph's good graces.
What an unbelievable player. And then for any younger listeners watching, I know there'll be thousands of you, but for any younger listeners watching, if you think Herbie Farnworth is good, and Herbie Farnworth is a very good player, go back and watch Jamie Lyon as a centre. He was insane. The other centre, I've gone Keith Senior. Had to be. He was the first modern centre. He could rip defences apart. His defence was exceptional. He was a leader on the field. He was incredible. Number 6. Now I very, very nearly went for Danny Maguire, but I haven't gone for Danny Maguire. I've gone for who I believe is the best number 6 this country's ever produced, and it is a man called Lee Briers. I think he was absolutely incredible. He was the only player at one time at Warrington I was scared to come up against. Sort of pre-Tony Smith.
He slotted a beautiful drop goal over, as I recall.
He did. Did he do it in a grand final as well, Dave? No, I didn't think he did. No, I didn't think he did. No. And then number 7, gone for Sean Long. Again, very nearly went for Robbie Burrow, but Sean Long and that St Helens side were absolutely incredible. 2002, 2003, Sean Long was unplayable at times.
Very surprised to see that he's party company revolved.
Yeah.
We still haven't heard anything as to why, when, or where.
So I don't know if you've seen it, Dave. They do a show called The Boundary Line, which is they've got Bill Quinn and Mike Ford on there, and they are talking very, very highly of Sean Long. It's just I think they were having a restructuring at the top of the club, and it was sort of changing Sean Long's role slightly, and I don't think he wanted to go ahead with that. But they wish him nothing but the best. I won't be surprised if we see him turn up at St Helens, to be honest. Yeah. Great coach and an all-round great bloke as well. Me number 8, I've got to go for JP. Jamie Peacock. Jamie Peacock is on my along with Jamie Lyon and a couple of other players I'm going to mention. He's on my Mount Rushmore. At 35, 36-year-old, he was still putting in 80 minutes performances for Leeds. He was an enforcer. He was a yard man. He was a man who could grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He was a winner. He was a champion, and I can't speak highly enough of Jamie Peacock as a player.
Moz. You put it along the inside.
Yeah. I was.
You put it down.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that was going to be the case.
I was between.
Yeah.
Well, wait till you see the number 9. So with Moz, I very nearly went for James Graham because I think James Graham was incredible. But and probably a couple of weeks ago, I might have gone for James Graham. But when I were in the presence of Adrian Morley and couldn't get my words out, I was like, yeah, this guy's something else. Is this fella? Absolutely incredible. Number 9, I very nearly went for Kieran Cunningham, but I've gone for his counterpart, Mr. James Roby, who I don't think there's been a better 9 ever produced in either side of the world. I think he's the greatest number 9 ever in rugby league, and I'll fight to the death with anyone who tries to convince me otherwise. Number 11, maybe a little bit of an odd call, and I don't think you'll have had this one before. Number 11, I very nearly went for Ali Lalatiti, and I very nearly went for David Solomona, but I've gone for Steve Menzies. The impact that Steve Menzies had at Bradford at a time when they were starting to go on the downward trajectory. He was 33, 34 years old, and he was tearing it up week in, week out. He did the same when he moved over to Catalans as well. An unbelievable professional, and I think, honestly, an absolutely incredible player.
Joe, I'm delighted you mentioned Dancing Dave. Yeah. I love Dancing Dave.
Oh, he was. He kept Wakefield in the league. He kept, he came over sort of. Yeah. I think he came over mid-season, if my memory serves me right, and he kept him in that league. He was absolutely incredible. Was Solomon, and so was Lalatiti. Lalatiti was a great player as well. So number 12. This was. I mean, I will be honest. I don't know if you've noticed this, Dave. When you've tried to do 1 to 13, it's hard to do, isn't it? It is really challenging. Number 12, I very nearly went for Gaz Ellis, and I very nearly went for Super Benny Westwood. But I've gone for another man who is on my Mount Rushmore, and that is Paul Sculthorpe. He was. You'll see in a minute why he's not at 13. But Paul Sculthorpe was incredible. He was insane how good he was. He could, again, take a great game by the scruff of the neck. He was a great defender. He was a hard man, but he was incredibly skillful. And I think that there's an aspect of the game of being that skillful but also having that toughness and that strength about you and your defensive abilities. I think there's a part of that that's gone out of the game now. And, he really was an incredible player, was Paul Sculthorpe. And then
complete.
Yeah.
I'd use the word complete. And I think the thing it's a shame that he had his injury problems as well. If he hadn't have had that couple of years where he was blighted with injuries, I mean, I think his reputation would have gone even higher than it already is, which is great.
He's going down as probably one. If he's not got the injury problems, he's probably going down as one of the greatest of all time in any conversation of any era. And then number 13, I had to do it. I've gone for Sir Kev himself. Yes, you can see you've already got it down. He was a superhuman, a gentleman. He was a professional as well, sort of before Rugby League turned. Not professional in terms of pay, but professional in terms of attitude. You ever listen to say something like Francis Cummins, and he took over the captaincy from Francis Cummins when he was still playing. And Francis Cummins turned round to Darryl Powell and he says, "If you're ever looking for another captain, he's your man." He once shared a room with him on a trip, and he was like still doing stretches at like 11 o'clock at night, and he didn't really drink. He was a massive professional and an all-round phenomenal captain. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves sometimes from a lot of people. People say, "Well, you were a great kicker," and that were it. He wasn't. If you actually watch what he did, he ran a game, and I mean, imagine that as a spine as well. Robbie Paul, Lee Breer, Sean Long, and Kevin Sinfield.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I mean, he probably win Super League, I would have thought. I don't think many people would argue that that's a team that went on the field of play win Super League. Who kicks goals, though? Because Pat Richards
Sean Long and Lee Breers as well. Well, hey,
do you know what? In fairness to Longy and Breers, I think Richards and Sinfield were
Sculthorpe as well. Sculthorpe were a very good kicker. Yeah.
Discount Paul as well. I think that of your team, I think Sinfield and Richards were the better kickers.
Probably Sinfield would be my captain, so I'd give kicking to Pat. But I'll tell you what, if you've got another great kicker in your side, it's only going to make you better, isn't it? So it's going to. Yeah, it's a difficult one, is that, Dave? But I think I'd probably give it to Pat Richards and have Kevin as my captain.
Fair enough, mate. I'm not going to argue with you, pal. I'm not going to argue with you. Good times. And to wrap it up, obviously, Super League Raw, you've been a proud member, Heritage number 59. You'll be back for more next year. Been on the final whistle as well a few times. For those who are watching, of course, you get your own little Under the Floodlights as well as part of it. How's Super League Raw panned out for you, Billy?
Absolutely fantastic, Dave. I mean, no question. I've spoken quite openly with yourself about this. That back end of 2023, I was really struggling with my mental health, and I cut out drinking altogether. And it just happened to coincide with, I bought myself Sky Sports, and it coincided with every game being live. And then sort of about May, June time, 2024, I discovered Super League Raw. Discovered you by accident, actually, because I was League Express had a break in the middle of the season, and so I sort of thought I want somebody who I can listen about what they think about the games and things. So I stumbled across you by accident. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. Became a member. It's worth absolutely every single penny. I've got some friends out of this group now as well, not just people who I know. I've got friends, Mark Hill, Bazza Kingston, unbelievable people, brilliant people who all can look at rugby league the way it should be looked at through neutral glasses. For the 80 minutes they're on the terraces, they're the most biased fans going. But when you come away from it, you can look at it and think, this, we didn't deserve to win, we did deserve to win, and so on and so forth. The job that yourself, Steph, Reggie, Joel all do is absolutely fantastic, and I can't thank you enough.
No, not at all, mate. We can't thank you enough for supporting us, pal. Absolutely wonderful stuff. So there you go, Billy's Under the Floodlights. It's been an absolute pleasure spending a bit of time with your company, mate. Some 1 to 13, that, no doubt about it.
I've got a bench as well if you want it, Dave. I put a bench as well if you want it.
Go on, yeah, go on. Give us your 4.
Ellis, Westwood,
yeah,
Graham, Burrow, and then my 18th man's Jimmy Lowes.
Hell of a team. That wins Super League, mate. It wins Super League. Jimmy Lowes, good shout. Good pro Jimmy Lowes. Yeah, I like what he did there as well. But yeah, that's some 17, that, mate. If you kept that 17 fit, it walks Super League. It absolutely cakewalks Super League. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So you'll be listening to Billy again in 2026 on the Final Whistle podcast. And something tells me the 18th man on tour might just be making a trip to the Halliwell Jones Stadium as well in 2026. Billy, on behalf of the members, but also a part of the non-members as well, it's been fascinating to hear your journey in rugby league. Some great debate there, mate. We'll catch up very soon. On behalf of everybody, mate, go well, and we'll see you in the new year, mate.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
All the best, pal.